Back again, episode 11. Don't know the mice, so pick up yourself 95 for 65. Brockwide, we're here. Go on with the earrings and that. Go on with the lips and that. If people didn't know from me before, I actually, at the age of 9 years old, I wanted to be a police officer. Through circumstances and things that were going on through my life, I said no.
Oh, you said no, or did they say no?
I said no.
Oh.
But my dad was adamant, if you be a police officer, you can't come live here anymore and that. He used to jump out on police officers, like, so when we get pulled over, when he was in the wrong, he would jump out and cuss them. What are you stopping me for? And it was horrible. But I wanted to be part of the change. I just like I like the way. I just wanted to be part of change. I'll be honest. But through the times of growing up,
What year was that? 19.
No, don't try to Libby. Don't try it. I haven't introduced you yet, so stay over there, bro. Like you're trying to jump in the thing early. Like I'm young. That was about I was 1990.
What?
1990. So was that?
No, did you like attracted to like what, the power?
The power? No. I like the fast cars. First of all, it was the red blue lights that got me first, and then I just seeing the uniform, boom, and then it wasn't power. No, you thought I was bullied in school and that, and you thought that I wanted to just do.
Yeah.
Nah. I'm a bad man.
Like
I was a bad man in school
as well.
Anyway, like... so what does 11?
It's difficult. Oh, it's very significant.
What's the numerology 11?
You
don't even know. You're guessing again.
I do, but I can't remember. But it's like
11's the biggest number. One of the everybody goes, oh my gosh, my phone's got 11 on it.
Yeah.
And it's like getting mad.
It's like everything's manifesting. Like there's a
whatever, man.
No, it is like
put in the comments if whatever.
11 is very, very powerful.
Is it?
It's very strong. I see quite a lot of it recently.
Whatever, man.
So
can we introduce our guest?
Yes.
I don't know what he goes by now because I just knew him as. If I need to contact a person in the community, that a police officer that I knew personally, I'll go to this guy, innit? But then he's not no more, but he's still an ex one, so I don't know what.
He's still an ex one. What?
Ex police officer, innit? So
he's still an ex.
He's be ex, innit? He's still your ex.
You're not still an ex.
How can you not be an ex?
You're just an ex. You're not still an ex.
Right.
Oh yeah, good point.
Like your English is very.
Can we introduce Errol Patterson inside
the
the house?
building.
He's famous now. He's on BBC now and that. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
All late and that, you know. How long we have to wait for this Donny? Like
nice
cancelled last time on us and everything. I'm not joking. No. I had to get him because I could never catch anything on him because he's one of them persons that you can always rely on. And I'll be honest with you, like, since just giving you a background, I could always rely on this guy to come and just under the phone or just come along. So you just come to the Lambeth College with Sharon Kaniche to help bridge the gap with that, and he would come along and then phone anytime I situation with young people and anything, you always be at the end of the phone. And then we just built the Lambeth
WFF.
Yep, Black Family Lambeth Forum, and then that's why we got even more connected. And I'm thinking, how can a police officer be doing all this madness? Are you alright?
They know what they're meant to be doing.
No, this is the first of any kind. So this is what I'm saying. When people think every police, there's one guy that I know 110%. I put hand on heart that he's still gangster, but he's still professional, but still does the job, but still was all about our people in the belly of the beast, like properly in there. So I don't know. How long have you been retired now? You're not retired, are you? You're still working, isn't it, though?
I'm still working, but retired from the police service. Yes. God knows, got many years now. Long time, long. Many.
You served 18, innit? It's 18 years.
12 years.
12 years.
Okay. Calling 12 years.
So, what age was you when you?
I joined late because I never intended to join the police services. I was almost the opposite. You wanted to join, I didn't want to join.
That's mad. Like, what do you mean you didn't want to join?
No. Remember, I remember back in the 80s when Brixton riots.
Serious times.
When they had loads, the sus law and everything. I remember those bad days. So therefore, my view of the police was completely opposite. It was anti, you know, all those kind of things. So I had no intention. But as time rolls on, my career was in computers, but for the banks and things like that. So that was my career path. So did that for a number of years, stopped, went abroad, came back, and then I was doing contracting, and then in between the contracts, I was looking for something that's going to bring steady income just to pay bills.
Oh, okay.
So an opportunity arose where I could become one of those, what they call plastic police, or the PCSOs.
Plastic police? What do you mean plastic?
Some people call
Dead
it
police.
No,
Traffic wardens.
Listen.
Traffic wardens.
No. PCSOs, police community support officers.
The ones that, community officers.
There's no more of them now. They're not more. They're not
I
no
see
more.
them still.
They're still around.
Not many, but I see them.
There are some.
Okay.
There are some still. But, you know, much respect to them guys, because they do a lot of hard work in terms of being the eyes and ears on the police service on there. So I took that position when it first started off and first being developed, because it was just a stopgap to pay my bills. But you know what? Went along.
But you're still going to be a...
No,
you
I was just in a support role, community support, police community support.
Okay.
Police system, right? So I was okay. Let me just do this temporarily,
Yeah.
right? So it's just for bill. I was like, nah. So it was just like do this little test, and it was literally like doing the alphabet. You know the alphabet, yeah.
Oh.
Done. That's how easy the test was. And so.
And they do a DBS, right? They do DBS.
Yeah, I think they do like a background check, because it wasn't called DBS back in those days.
CRB.
CBT or something.
CRB.
Yeah. So they did that, and everything fine. Got into role, and I actually met quite a good bunch of people who were in there, good friends. You know, in terms of people who were out there just trying to do their best and trying to do that, and it kind of exposed you, because I was like, I couldn't do. I was against some of the actions of the police that were taken, obviously, and the history and that. But it's also a question around, could I take being abused as an officer? I mean, so like all the things that would happen to a police officer, potentially, am I going to be able to stand back and just hold myself back and act professional? Right? So question like, for instance, if someone spat in your face,
Come on. Because she's like, already.
You know what I'm saying? Are you going to be able to take that and act
Yeah.
professionally? I was like, no. Okay. I am not going to be able to act professionally in that. I don't think I could do it. So that was kind of like my thinking, my mentality at that time. And the more that I got into meeting the great people that were doing the PCSOs, and I understand some of the animosity around some of the community in terms of like what they do. Even though the police themselves didn't like PCSOs.
Okay.
So there was two battles that was going on. Those
Community
mindset,
mindset.
and some of the police officers didn't like, because they saw it like this is a cheap alternative to policing. So there was two battles in there, but you had some great people in there who were doing their best that they can under the circumstances. And then in that, one of the guys, officer, I said, like, you know what? I think you're a great temper, and you can go. I think you make a great officer.
Is it the white guy or black guy?
White guy.
White guy. Okay.
So he told me, and I was like, no, trust me, you're beating it. So he kept on. Your mate turned around. So I thought, you know what? All right, let me see. Let me see if I get through. Let me see if I get through.
Okay.
That time I've been through. So I went through this training. I was like, okay, cool. Went to Hendon that time.
It's still at Hendon now, isn't it? It's still always
No,
it's changed now.
They do college policing now, which is like a university type thing, college degree, university degree. So at Hendon it was more intense, because you're doing like a 3-year degree within 5 months. So it was exams, 2 or 3 exams every week, which you had to pass.
Not more portrays though. More portrays.
Some of them were. Most of them were. But you still had to get the right answers. You still had to pass. So anyway, long short forward, like you join Hendon, and it's like intense pressure. You're living in Hendon. It's not the best accommodation. You get.
Well, hold on. Why go on for family though? Why go on for family? Like, because obviously, like I said, my dad's not in it. Like my family don't do police.
Yes.
As we know, the black people don't do police. Like, why did you get around that? Like, I'm going Hendon.
Well, you know
You
what?
lied.
Yeah, I mean, there's some people who are a bit, obviously they were, kind of hesitant, but they would turn around, okay, it is what it is. If you're going to make that decision, make a decision. There were some people who, didn't like it, but, you kind of just go ahead and just like forge ahead. You say like, okay, let me see. Because my mindset is, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it for the benefit of the black community.
Okay.
I am not going to be part of the problems.
Yes.
Do you understand? So
Wow,
I'm going to
so
go
it's
in
a
there.
It's a big thing to wear on your chest or on your shoulders, carry on your shoulders.
Well, that's the belief. Because, they turned around and said, we change, we want some, more black police officers, and that kind of rhetoric and promotion was going on. So you kind of like, okay, well, let's see.
Yeah.
So
you in this let's see though, that's dangerous. Like that's one of the people. Let's go down. Let's go check that outside. Like the horror movies. Let's go and see.
I'm a adventurous type of person. You try something once.
Makes sense.
Don't try. So you saw I went on Hendon. Hendon was not easy because you had to live there. You had to deal with the regime, and it's very kind of strict military type regime. Get up in the morning,
make your bed,
not so much making your bed, but that's the natural thing we do. But when you're doing a parade in the morning, your shoes have to be shine.
Okay.
Uniform had to be in order. Everything had to be straight and whatever it is, because you get inspected. So that was an inspection thing every morning.
Well, they do that shouting thing at you. They shout at you and that.
What shout? But inspect, not shout at you directly, but obviously they're giving instructions: stand to attention, turn left, turn right. And they come along and they inspect your shoes, inspect your tie, everything else. If you're not in order, you then have to go and speak to, you get called aside. You then have to go and speak to the duty, what they call it, some guy you have to go and speak to, and you have to go and explain. And all that is more pressure on you to turn around and say like, wow, you're up to scratch.
Okay.
So you try and you don't want to be the one that gets dragged out, and everyone else is going off to have
You get called out. You get called out.
Did I ever get called out? I think maybe once. Maybe once.
Never again.
Yeah, maybe once. Yeah. You don't want to be called out. So, and you get ridiculed by others. If you get called out, you can't do it. So, did that. Pressure. Exams are pressure, trust me. And then one of the things I soon realised, and maybe almost not go through with it, the training part was it's because I realised, when you're in the classroom environment, there was a bit of like, they don't see you.
Okay, all right, go on.
We're kind of going off topic here. I'm
just
giving you a background.
Yeah, that might make sense. Yeah, but
they're kind of like, you felt like they're not seeing you, like you're not hearing your voice. Yeah, so it's about, I just thought, like, not seeing, not hearing me. Like sometimes you ask questions like, next, or you understand?
Okay, like that. Okay, yeah.
Like you're not there. So many a times that will come through, many of us, and I'm like, this is me, turn around, the pressure and turn around. So it got so bad to the point where I said, you know what? I literally said, fuck this, I ain't, excuse my French, I ain't doing this no more, because this is bullshit. And the only reason why that stopped me from quitting was another sister, and she turned around and she said, Errol, don't do it, that's what they want you to do. She said she knows. She's been through that. She feels it exactly the same.
Where was she at the time? She was in the training as well?
Yeah.
But what, she done it again or what? How did she know that?
She knew, because I spoke to her about it, and she was saying, this is how I feel. She goes, I know exactly how you feel. She said, that is exactly what they want you to do is to quit. She said, many a time she's gone to her dormitory or room in tears because of this subtle kind of racism thing that's going on there. When you bring things to attention, it's like, okay, yeah, we'll look into it, and then nothing happens. That kind of thing. You're thinking, what, And she said, don't. And it's only her, but I say, you know what, if she's going to stick through it.
Do you remember her name?
I wish I did. I really do wish I did.
If you're out there, come hit him up, but obviously, you get me, but he done it, 12 years and that.
Wait, how many other black people?
There were a few others around, not many.
Okay.
They're probably
all scattered in it. Don't know. You see each other. It's like, go on.
So there's, you get like a handful of, and there wasn't many. But yeah, she was the one that stopped me from quitting and saying,
that's amazing.
And she said, like, she's gone to bed many a time in tears because of it. So I stuck it out, came out of it, and they said, like, you really want to go, to be deployed? And I said straight away, Brixton. I want to go to Brixton.
Who does that though? Right in the ends.
Let me tell you something. A lot of brothers and sisters out there didn't want to do that. They said, no, I don't want to be amongst my own.
Don't they? They say not to. They say they encourage you not to. I swear, but wherever you live. Well, obviously, wherever you live, you got to be 10 miles away.
They try not to, because they say if you arrest someone, you could see them while you're shopping. However, I found out there are some officers, black and white, mostly white officers, who actually still lived within the borough that they choose to work in. So it's down to you.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know that. I thought it was.
But they try to say, this is the things you got to watch out for. But I wanted to work in Lambeth. I wanted to be amongst my own people. And to be in there and trying to make a difference or a change. So that's how I kind of come.
Because you came for you did this thing where I just want to see. I love the way you said, I'm just gonna go and see.
Yeah.
But now you've passed. When was the thing that trigger that said, I'm doing this now, innit? Like, or was it the woman, or was it the passing, or was it they said, you can go to Brixton? When did you get?
It became a reality.
Because the sea thing become a sea thing. After a while comes a purpose or whatever it comes. How you ever? I don't know if that makes sense.
It becomes reality when you pass. When they turn around and say, like, you've passed. So you got your passing out parade, and you have your people come down, and your family come down, and you take your photographs, finally get your warrant card. You get your thing. So that's kind of reality where it steps in. When you get into Lambeth now, you're in there, you're in the people there, you're in there, So there's a lot of awakening there, because when you're going through all the training, there's a certain amount of institutional training institutional training that gets ingrained in you. So you do things in a certain way. And
for example, what's that?
So, for instance, like you go along and you're stopping people. It's like, you got to go and stop the person. You're thinking, okay, I'm going to stop that person, and you're going to engage that person in that trained manner.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Okay.
So there are certain situations that you get into. So when you're going out there now, when I went out there, turned around and started doing my thing, patrolling police and stuff. Okay, this is training man. You're meeting someone and say good, and then it's good to see a black officer. You don't see me. This is what shocked me. It was like, hang on, this is Brixton. Given the history of Brixton, you'd think they'd want more black officers in there to build the bridges on there.
Of course.
It shouldn't be a case, so glad to see a black. We hardly ever see black officers. Yeah. That to me was like, why is that? It should be a case that you should be able to communicate. So you get in there, and then some of the realities don't hit you like with a cold bucket of water. You get some from the black community who are vehemently against you.
Whoa, the way that's from the soul, that one there.
Yeah. So they're vehemently, but it took me a while to figure out it's not you per se, it's what you represent. It's the uniform.
Fair enough, because once
exactly. So it took me a while to take that in and realise it's the uniform that's changing.
And is institutionally helping you in that situation, or is that straight you're all on your own in that? It sounds like you're on your own.
The institution, the service in there wants you to be one of them.
Wow, it's just, okay,
So you fit in one of them, and you're doing everything how they want you to do. So you're kind of fitting in. You're trying to fit in with that regime, that kind of trained mentality, and you do this. But I wanted to do. I didn't feel comfortable in that. I wanted to be more community involvement, more getting to know. Right. What can happen?
And that is part of what they are, community. Like they're supposed to be,
Policing is supposed to be done with, or has done, because the number one rule they teach you at Hendon is that policing is done with the consent of the people. Without their consent, you cannot police. And one of the things I realise some people don't acknowledge or know is that the community will always outnumber the police.
I've always said that, you know, we can just run up. No, I didn't say that, but I was thinking that.
But in reality,
we do the world
But,
in
yeah.
itself, even the government itself, even that we could
we
overrun.
just don't
them if we
necessarily have
wanted
the
to.
weapons, but
The government, no, they ain't carry. They've got chairs. That's all they got is the one green chair in Parliament.
Parliament.
We could overrun. We could walk in there tomorrow, just overrun it.
Yeah, it's happened before.
Is it?
All them protesters that get into the.
No, I mean properly, like. Well, anyway, so yeah.
well, this is where that thing that you police with the consent, because if that consent is withdrawn, then the community can reject your policing.
Okay.
Right, so you police with consent. Now, what they tend to rely on is that you're a police officer and therefore you live in fear of being arrested. If you don't have that fear, then that authority to police you is taken away.
Yeah.
You try to say, no, I'm not terminated. So we had classic examples, like for instance in the poll tax riots. Right, the poll tax riots when the whole nation raised up against the council tax and make tax. There was a lot of wild demonstrations all over the place, turning around and saying, we're paying this, turn around. That is what you call that, the community saying, no, we're not having that. The consent is withdrawn.
Yeah.
So, in any situation now, the police, because they act in a uniformed way, they perceive as if this is a whole body of people turning around. But if you ever watch the dynamics from afar, you'll see, well, hang on, the community is like 500 people, and you've got 20 officers here. Ours 20 officers driving back 500, or you're driving back 100.
Mad, isn't it? It's weird.
Yeah, there's that. So it's that
There's a
fear
psychology.
factor. Yeah, it's that fear factor. Turn around. If that 500, or even 200, or even 100 turn around and say, no, we ain't backing down. We're going to run you out, because we've seen that some of those situations have evolved in some of the COVID situations where police have turned up en masse and the crowd have pushed them out. You must have seen it on YouTube.
Yeah.
They pushed them out. They turned around and said, no, you ain't coming, we ain't doing this.
Yeah.
So that kind of policing with consent is important. And if you don't have the community confidence in there, then that consent is withdrawn, so to speak. Do you understand? So you have
where we ended up now.
right. So you have the situations like where you had the 2011 riots and things like that. So it's important to have community confidence and community.
Because you're getting it out there, you're going out there. I can imagine your first day, you got the hat on, the whole thing. I'll put a picture up if you see the picture, so beautiful.
Yeah.
And they just walk in, and your first day on the beat. When did you actually turn around and say to yourself, "Oh man, Diddy days, like there's so much work to do," or did you not?
Well, when your first day, let's say when I first day on the beat, you're kind of meeting lots of people and they're positive. Most of the older generation, they're very respectful and saying yes, turn around, because they're glad to see and they realise they're mature in age. The younger generations now, no, they're not. They're kind of like, no, we've seen the kind of uniform works. We've been through the experience, and now I can understand their mentality to a degree.
Okay.
I can understand their mentality, because if they've had negative experience, or their friends have been negative experience, or even family members have been negative experience, then that uniform is gonna portray that same negativity, or that same, even though they haven't experienced it, they know someone who has, or they know my family member, or treated my dad, or whatever, my son, or the way I treat my mum. So this is where it's important for officers to police in a professional manner, because negative policing can have such a wide-ranging impact, not just on the individual there, but friends and family they're connected with, because bad news spreads fast.
Quick.
It's true, and then for every bad experience, you're going to need at least 10 to try to.
Absolutely.
But you know what we did? We done an experiment with some police officers in a casino. While we were in a casino doing I don't know what it was, but we were doing a convention, and it was the police were there, and we were going for some bidding, so they made us go for do this presentation thing. And what we did there, I purposely said to them, we made them fill out a questionnaire, because we're doing a music club, so it's like a music club, so they're going to give us money towards it. So what we done is filled out the questionnaire. What it is, they got to say what their favourite songs are, their favourite music, and what they listen to first thing. What's their first thing they listen to in the morning? But when we got that the paperwork here, most of them listen to rock and roll. Now imagine a young person that listens to drill and then rock and roll, and then then they collide. I was like, this is a madness. But it means that when you're talking about professionalism, they have to go beyond. We don't have to be nice or receptive, do we? We don't really. Respectfully, we should be respectful.
Yeah,
despite
but
anybody.
Back to your point in regards, because wasn't it about the high frequency?
Yeah.
Of the music.
And then what makes you go high, low, but when them two worlds collide, I was like, wow, imagine you get stopped by a policeman that's already listened to rock, heavy metal, and then a kid that's just listened to drill music, and you both collide. I just couldn't work it out. But like you said, the professionalism is what's supposed to be. They're meant to overlook beyond that, and that's a lot, and they're still humans.
Exactly, and I think that's where within the training thing, within the Met certainly, some areas is lacking and developing or lacking to understand that. In the funny, strange thing is, I found that with the British Transport Police, right, who they were actually more community aware than the Met Police, and also you'll find that counties police.
Who's county?
We're talking about going outside, Manchester, all like counties police were more engaged at that time with community policing. So you had remote places that turn around. So for instance, a classic example where that kind of came to light was during the 2011 riots. They brought in a lot of officers from the counties come in.
Okay.
And those counties officers were coming in now because they had no preconceived ideas around bricks and policing and gang or whatever term. They were coming and they were joking and talking to the people on the street. And the young people would turn around and say, well, we need more of you officers.
Okay.
Imagine that.
So the young people were actually receptive to the white officers who were engaging rather than the NPS officers who were like aggressive in their approaching or trying to be domineering in their placing.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like, this is after, I was doing my community policing, community engagement role, where that was lacking to a big degree. Now, this is where it kind of gets a bit confusing sometimes, because the police do these community engagement programs.
Yeah, outreach. They do it more so now.
Right. And there's a lot of that was going on.
Yes. That's what happened. The phone memory went on the phones, like the 2 other cameras. Oh my diddy days. So we were none the wiser. That's why we need the backup crew weren't there today. We usually have people that help us on the other side. So they weren't here. Filming the whole day. So please keep watching. This is a great insight to the police force and what is going on, and hearing from a black police officer. This is just essential, especially for us in the black community where we are. So keep watching. We're sorry, but we're going to have his picture in the corner and we're going to keep it moving. So yeah, we're going to keep it moving. I swear you're making an appearance in there as well, don't you? This is episode 11. Let's just keep it going. Thank you for everybody that's been just watching and keeping it going. So we're do you mind? Do you always have to get involved?
But my question is that a lot of these officers, you could tell, were kind of there reluctantly. They weren't really given to trying to understand. They were there, okay, yeah, we have to go for it, tick box, boom. Let's get this over and done with.
Okay.
They weren't really understanding. They weren't really trying to get into it and find out, okay, is there perceptions that I need to change? Is there mentality that I need to be aware of? So, for instance, I would tell them, listen, Caribbean people are very, what's the word?
Passive aggressive.
No, they're very, it's what when you kind of expressive people. They're expressive people.
Yeah.
Right?
When you use our hands all the time,
Right.
You do it.
Exactly.
Go on, you're alright.
Yeah.
Pick up yourself. For no reason, we're just saying hello.
Exactly. So, for instance, if you get stopped, a Caribbean person or black person might be just going to go, what the fuck are you stopping? Why are you stopping like that? And they're gesticulating with their hands, raising their voice.
And don't take it as aggression. It's
it's just their frustration. Italians are also very expressive people. you know, you can hear them in expression, turn around. It doesn't mean that they're going to attack you. Now, there are some of us who view that a black man doing that kind of gesture kind of thing, emotional gesture, as being aggressive. Why are you being so aggressive?
Yeah.
Put your hands down. Don't be that aggressive. Yeah. Don't raise your hands.
They're going to take that as offence.
Quickly.
They don't understand. Yeah. If you go to Jamaica, you'll find people that, and they'll be seeming as if they're arguing, like they're going to fight, but they're just expressing themselves in a way that is raised, but it's just an emotional way that they just argue and they talk or they discuss whatever it is. It doesn't mean they're going to go and fight.
No, it's the same issue with young boys in class in schools, isn't it? Look. Teachers taking them as aggressive, but really and truly they're just
when they express themselves.
You look at the past cultures of it. Take dominoes.
Yeah.
Take dominoes. You take a turn, man. You don't just place it down and say your turn. No. They have to slam it down, raise up the thing, shout, turn around. Now, from outside, I mean,
you feel like, what's going on in the next room?
These guys are aggressive, but it's not. They're just how they play. That's how they express themselves in dominoes, and they do that, and they shout, and they turn around. So they have to understand the mentality, and the only way you can get, for instance, to understand it is to go along and see people in their natural environment. And this is what BTP used to do. They used to go around to social clubs.
Is that
British Transport Police?
Okay.
Used to go into social clubs and see how young people interact.
Okay.
They'd understand then what their mannerisms and what it's like. Had more officers gone into, for instance, Brixton Dominoes Club, they would have seen that kind of expressiveness. That kind of turn around and realise, okay, so it's not a sign that I'm going to try and kill you or whatever. It's a sign of them being expressive. Now, you've also got to add on top of that, reason why people are suspicious and maybe hostile to being stopped at terrain is because the history of policing. You've got to, I said to the officer, you've got to take into context history.
So while you're in there, you're actually having these conversations.
You've got to take in contact the history of what's going on. So when people are suspicious of your uniform, it's not you per se, it's your uniform and what you represent. It's because of the history, the contextual history. You've got to be then part of that, to breaking down that wall, that communication.
Ain't that part of the training though? Ain't that in there? Like, don't they put that and say, right,
to a degree. But now, how do the officers engage that and take that on board and put it into practice?
Okay, that's the
unless you actually put in there. A lot of officers don't. I ain't got time for that, bro.
Yeah. I mean, my whole thing is, do they become quite ignorant in the sense of, well, I'm a police officer, so it doesn't matter what you think.
Yeah, I'm the law. Because ultimately, police officers, you used to say to officers, you have the ultimate power to take away someone's liberty. You have that. As a police officer, you can arrest anyone in the country apart from the Queen. Or from the monarchy.
Well, not the Queen's no more. Not so. It's kind
of King.
Maybe it should be. anyway, so that's the only person that you can't. The Crown. You could arrest the Prime Minister.
Yeah.
You can arrest the Home Secretary. If they commit a crime, you have the power to make that arrest. So you have a lot of power in your hands to take away someone's liberty and ultimately affect their whole life. Use it responsibly. Don't use it irresponsibly. Because if you arrest someone, detain them, that person could be in a job, they could end up losing their job, and they lose their job.
It's imagine, sometimes I don't think they think about that, but I don't know, they still got a job to do sometimes. They're not even...
Absolutely. But you've got to use your power responsibly.
100%.
Yeah, especially if the person that you're interacting with, let's just say it's a young adult, but they're quite emotional, so that the emotions are coming out in many different ways, and then the police officer's not using their wisdom in the sense of, I can maybe help the situation rather than add to it. But if they're using their power in the wrong way, then the person's getting more heightened emotions or whatnot, maybe even getting scared, but it's coming out in a, let's say, an aggressive way, in a way that the officer can't fully translate or understand, or maybe tired, don't even care, and just say, you know what, look, I'm just going to arrest you.
But then we got the whole section 60 where it came out quite a lot of times where a situation's happened in the community. Someone's died or stabbed or whatever. Tensions is heightened. They've still got a job to do. They need to go and find the culprits or boom, boom, boom. Community ain't speaking. It's like,
constant resistance.
Do you know what I'm saying? But I know, me personally, I've got to talk from my perspective in terms of how I would do it. If someone's done something in this community here where we live now, and then someone knows about it, and it's someone that I don't care about, you're going to do everything in your power to try and do to get it done. And that's what it's a but if someone's speaking and he's still got to live with it's a hard situation. Go on, sorry.
It is, but here's the situation. Here's the thing we kind of touched on a bit, because what officers should be doing is learn how to de-escalate. If there's a situation which is, the tensions are rising, becoming agitated, you've got to learn how to de-escalate and not trying to overpower. Because obviously, if you try and raise it to this level, and this person's trying to match you, and you're trying to raise it to this level, and they're trying to match you, things are just going to escalate. So turn around and let me bring it down a bit. Let them sound off.
Because you've got a little bit of humility.
Exactly, because officers have the ultimate power. Why do you need to try and prove yourself?
Big I am.
But what about when something's happened in the community and you have to go in a bit harder? There's no way they're not sitting there saying, look, we have to. I don't know.
Okay, we need policing, right? We know there are bad people out there, and those bad people need to be arrested, not shot and killed, and then. So they need to be arrested. So we need policing to be done, but we need to be done in a professional way. And the way that you get people to help you identify those individuals, come forward and give you information, is by you having the confidence from them. Do you understand?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's where you the advantage of you.
Right. So if something's going on, something's happened, you want to know to that and go into community, and you can turn around and speak to someone, and they can say, like, okay, what's happened? So, what, I can tell you this. I never give you my name, but I can tell you this. That's information that you can get. I say, okay, so this is the background. This is what happened. Did you see where? Yeah, he's Jerry. As far as I know, I heard it was so and so. That's information you're getting. If you haven't got that community relationship, they come to you and say, I don't want to talk to you about it.
No.
They don't talk to you.
Yeah, that's the advantage. That's the advantage you had.
So when I was doing in my role as the first and only Black African community liaison officer.
Who designed that role? What is it called? What is it called again? First
the Black African Community Liaison Officer.
Just African, not Caribbean.
African Caribbean, which I think it was African. I can't remember. I've got some cards now. It's been a while. So, African Caribbean Liaison Officer is more or less liaison officer for the Black community. I was the first one. That's my shock. First, number one. Like, what didn't happen? The reason why it was created because there was a meeting with the then superintendent Paul Wilson, great man, fantastic man, Paul. Amazing officer, Black officer, who sat down with Paul Wilson and said, look, we want to see more officers that look like us and understand us. So Paul Wilson, to his full credit, said, okay, we need to have that liaison officer, that liaison. So that what was created out of Paul Wilson's tenure as the superintendent at Brixton. He said, like, who wants to volunteer for it? So, oh, that sounds good. Something I'm interested in. It kind of fits along my mentality. Went through it to me. I thought I was going to be in a long list of people. I was the one. That offered
battle for the thing, you know.
I was the one and only officer.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. How's that? Why is that? Anyway, so it was there. Went through.
Oh, you said volunteer. What does that mean? Like you're going to be doing a voluntary role. You're still getting paid as an officer, but it doesn't add to value.
Yeah, so you're still an officer,
Mm-hmm.
but you're then assigned to develop this new role.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, great. Tell me what I mean. And he kind of outlined what you got to do. You could go in there, make links with the community, talk to them, build community confidence and things like that. Make bridges in there. So okay, you got to develop the role because it was new.
Yeah.
You've then got to develop the role. So I was in there, and there are great people like, for instance, Zenobia, who was, I don't know if you remember Zenobia.
Yeah.
She was in there.
Yeah.
She was a great help, great lady as well. Great help in helping develop the role. So that role was build up and developing all as going along. Community, people like Ross Griffiths also in there.
Aussie.
She was in there saying, oh, okay, great, we're going to have you in the role. Let's get you out there. She's to help me to put my name out there. So there were people out there who were positive to the role and trying to develop the role. My shock was that it hadn't existed before, given the history in there, saying like how this has not happened before. How we in Brixton not had this black community to build, black community liaison officer to build bridges for the police. It should have been
80s, 70s.
Yeah, it should have been there from such law from there. It should have been long-standing thing, from way back when. So that was how the role kind of developed, and then I started developing more, building more people there, going out and meeting people, understanding your role. So I was kind of given a freelance to do as I want to develop the role. So I know from some of the officers they were anti that. No, you're us or you're them.
It's a mad thing, isn't it?
They saw it as
going
too close to the other side.
Right. So there were some officers who were like, I know, for instance, who were against that kind of community and goal commitment. So I went out there and I made links and I talked to people and I built links and I thought about changing. How can I change the perception of policing in Brixton? And that's where I got officers talking to young people who they'd never talked to before, they'd never communicated before, but having that bridge and talking about their perception and versus young people's perception kind of made them understand where they're coming from. So that good thing to talk. As long as you're talking,
of course,
you can find common ground.
Yes.
If you're not talking, you're just throwing stones at each other,
then
you're never going to find common ground.
No.
So my philosophy was that better inside talking and being critical rather than being outside shouting and not engaging. At least when they're talking, you have some form of engagement where you can find that common ground and find, okay, what can we disagree on this, well, that's your perception of this, but we can agree on this. Let's build on this.
Build on that.
And once you start building on that, then you can start developing and policing. So from the things that I did was to have community meetings inside Brixton Police Station. Never been done before.
That was gangster. Like, we're going in, for the right reasons and that. There's mothers going through doors and that.
Exactly.
It's beautiful.
So you had, I used to have them inside. Now, a lot of eyebrows were like, what's going on here? What's going on? Have a community meeting. With support of Superintendent Wilson to have a community meeting. I'd have them in the briefing rooms and have them in there. So you'd have community coming, they've never been there. I've never been here. It turned around. So there'd be raised eyebrows where some people who were known police, who've been arrested before, were suddenly coming into police stations for talks, engagement.
You'd have rooms, like meeting rooms.
Change the psychology.
Usually I thought it was just the cells and that. But meeting rooms.
So you're not being arrested. So there's a lot of things that kind of community engagement changed some of the perceptions of turning around and saying, okay, well, we can engage the police now and we can talk about changes and about what's not going so well and what is going so well as going out there and meeting groups that are doing good work in the community and saying, well, we need to support them and promote them and turn around. So, for instance, Reverend Mimi Asher, fantastic God-sent woman who did so much with young people who were hardened young people on the estates in.
Bring it, Tiana.
I think her teething.
Is acting up.
Just to start like you.
No, her teeth, she's going like that.
Yeah, the powders are.
And she keeps
Powder
jimming
working.
all up on my.
Say hello. Hello. So been a powder thing.
No, man. But yeah, I think her teeth are proper trying to break through because.
Hey, this is real life, innit? This is the pod. This is real life. You just like the camera, innit? Just like the camera.
That's smart. That's
You like the camera. I'll get your thing. Nah, so you're going up because it did work. What you were doing did work because first time in ever I've had communication with the police on that sense where I felt I've got someone that's connected. From that, I'm able to tell the young people. From that, I'm able to tell my community. From that, and it had a ripple effect in that sense, without him even knowing that he knew, but he didn't know the ins and outs from my angle. Like it was like, no, there's a good brother in there. It's cool, man. You get me? And it had a ripple effect within the community. But that role's non-existent. Oh, it might be. I don't know if it is there. But if that role was to grow, if it was a kept. I can't say woulda, shoulda. Could we be avoiding what we're seeing now, with everything? I don't know.
I think because of certain people, because this role wasn't created from the top, right? It's created at a local level.
See, that's the difference now.
That's the difference now. It wasn't come from Scotland Yard. Scotland Yard didn't say, you know what, Brixton, we need a community.
Yeah.
This was created at a local level. So some people, in my perception, at the very top, who didn't see this role as being critical or valuable. Had they been, for instance, a turn around and seen, then they would have replicated that role in other boroughs.
True.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about why is it in Hackney? Why is it in Tottenham?
The main place is Hackney, Newham.
Why wasn't it? I used to clean out to Birmingham officers, and I said, like, this would be one up in Birmingham, it should be up in Manchester, Luton, all those areas where you've got large black communities in there. There should be officers in there that understand the culture and bring in bridges, given the history of policing within this country of black people. And I'm not blowing my own trumpet. There are some officers, some who were created on the back of it, because I said, okay, right, yeah, that's good. That's a good idea. So there are officers in Birmingham, for instance, who were created on the back of it to be that liaison officer. But to me, it's critically important, and it's a missed opportunity. Now, roll forward to today, again, because it wasn't ordained from above, that role was then taken out at a local level. So it was watered down.
Yeah.
It then became like not just an African Caribbean, it was like all encompassing. So like everybody's like, well, that's not the idea. It's because the idea was that the issue was trust community within the black community. You could argue that they didn't see it as being worthwhile because Brixton was being gentrified. So therefore, didn't have that same importance as it did before. Potentially, someone might be skeptical and say that.
You could say that, yeah.
You need a big, you're gonna get soaked.
We're used to it, man.
So that role to me was watered down, and it was taken down, and it wasn't. And then eventually, it's no longer there.
Did you leave when you went through that transition, or when you left it was gone?
When I left, I thought I handed it over to someone to continue.
Wow.
But then when I found out later on that same person had been told to become the all-encompassing community liaison officer, not just black character, which changed the role completely.
What was your reasons for leaving?
Because policing under the Tories became about figures. And so they're going away from what I've built up over the years. Because there's a number of things I could talk about, so, it's like, but it became about policing. How quick can you get to responsible? And
big heads, you're right.
All right.
Yeah, she's demanding. This girl's demanding. This is real life, Real life. You see you?
All right, Richard. All right.
Such a big head, man. Yeah, sorry, go on.
So, you know, there's a lot of people. It was a shame I thought now. So a lot of people who were like didn't see the value in the role, and they were kind of like not understanding that community policing is about also community confidence, and sometimes the confidence you can't measure. You have to go in there and you have to build community positive roles, positive image, and break down bridges in there.
That's going to take
You
time.
can't necessarily measure that because what you're doing there is sometimes you're preventing things from happening. But how can you say I prevented 10 crimes today?
Yes, okay.
You can't say I prevented 10 crimes, but you can know by seeing how confidence is building on there.
If there's a different,
but they're not on that. But then the Tories are literally just going.
All they're saying is that there's a 999 call. How long did it take you to get there?
Okay.
So policing then became like firefighting.
Okay.
You wait till the fire happens and then you go and respond to it. By that time the fire's damage already
Who
been done.
Who's Tory then? Who's there? Who's there then before you left?
Tory parties.
Yeah, but who's Prime Minister then?
I don't know if it was, well, since Cameron days, isn't it? The Camerons have been in those.
Yeah. Okay. It's probably Cameron then. Alright,
So it's been a continuous Tory policy of just responding, not community confidence. So you get away.
that's massive, you know.
So you're just becoming like responding to like firefighting rather than preventing the fight in the first place. So that is why I said, you know what, I'm done with this because you're totally going against it, and it should be like how it was back in the old days, where you had the beat officer who would go around.
So you believe in that? So you believe in the beat? Okay.
To be seen is when you're seen around there is to be able to engage. So if you're walking around, people see you. I can see the police community. I can feel reassured because I can see them going around, and if they're going around, they're preventing crime. That kind of psychological connection is there, rather than blue light, top, out, and no one sees you again until the next 999 call. Do you understand? Because then where's that? It's crazy. And when you're walking around and you're engaging with people turn around and say, you know what? That's where you can get valuable intelligence from people about things that are happening.
Which she did. She did. I would tell him everything. Like, I see the guy. I know him. He's the neighbour or whatever. You get what I'm saying? But it was. We had someone that we could, and I know it wouldn't go. Whatever he done with it, I knew he would do the utmost with it because of the relationship we've built with each other. And I'm sure that's with so many other people that's got the same.
Isn't it? Building relationships and trying to help build bridges. That's not an overnight.
But it's money. But the money's an issue, isn't it? It's a business at the end of the day, innit? Like we all know it's a business, so they have to make money some way or another.
I don't think the government want to cut down on money in terms of like what it involves, how much it costs to run policing. But for something that's so critical, in terms of community cohesion, you
doesn't matter what money is, throw it at it. Yeah, it's true.
You can't run things on a shoestring budget. You know, you got to not waste money, but you've got to put it into the right places. And when you talk about beat officers in there, that's something that is valuable. You know, people used to talk about them. Docks in the Glock Green, those kind of things. That when you go around and say, that's Sergeant so and so, I see him all the time.
But the postman, isn't it? The postman, morning.
No, but even when I think about it, like just seeing, a couple officers, on your local high street, just walking up and down, it does give that sense of, I guess, security, protection.
Or even that you can just have someone, I tell to officers, go in there. I always tell officers, don't have your coffee and teas in your canteen. Go into the coffee shops.
Yeah. Even the black shop, go and eat a patty.
Yes, I used to go into health eaters and sit down. People say, look, you do that. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Why not do that? I've got to eat. I've got to have dinner. Why should I sit in the canteen? If I had my way, I'd shut down all the canteens, all the police stations. I'd say, right, go out there. You want to have something to eat? Go in the cafes, go in the shops, go and buy your stuff. Sit down there. Because then people see you, they're able to turn around. And that's where a lot of times people turn around.
So how do you go up the ranks then, in it? Like, say, or is it glass house again, or is it? Because you could have, to change, because like we were just speaking to someone earlier on the episode 10 about black businesses. She said finance and black businesses are suffering because finance ain't putting policies ain't being put in place. So she has to go try and change policies up there. I was like, good luck, good luck.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
We
if you
don't want-
knew the change from top.
I never wanted to get a promotion. I was quite happy. This is why I joined the police service, serving the black community, trying to make positive changes within perception of the police in terms. That's why I wasn't really interested in promotion. You know, I used to what they call punch way above my weight in terms of like who's this Errol Patterson? Oh, he's a constable, just a constable. All this work that he's doing, and he's just a constable. But I was happy in my role because it was just like, you know, I might be just constable, but I'm also the link.
Yeah.
That's important.
You knew that you were doing important work,
right?
And it wasn't about ego, because I think the higher you go, the more detached you become from the real purpose of.
Absolutely.
Good point. Still,
Absolutely.
can't even argue that. So going forward now, obviously now policing, like you're out how many years now? Like you're free and that. How you looking at policing now? How do you now you're a normal civilian now? So now you're seeing what's going on. You see the Chris Carver case. We've seen so many different things going on in our community.
So in answer to your question,
go on. Sorry.
How do I perceive the police today? Looking at it from the outside, I see that there is a machinery out there that really doesn't give a damn.
Wow.
Seriously. And we're kind of going through the same thing year after year after year, saying the same thing year after year after year. Stop and search is an issue year after year. Policing, the way it's done within the black community is still an issue year after year, and that accountability is still lacking year after year, and we keep saying the same thing. And when they keep saying the same rhetoric, and I saw a social media clip where the senior officers were saying that we're going to listen to the community, and we're going to bring about change, we're here to listen to. And so many same senior officers, commissioners have said the same thing over and over again.
Same script, innit? Like the same script.
Word for word almost. Saying the same thing. And you realise, are we being taken for a fool here?
Yeah.
Are we the ones actually the problem? Because we're believing the same rhetoric and going through the same steps over and over again.
Short memories.
You know? Exactly. Instead of realising, you said this so many times again.
Yeah, what's changed? What actually happened?
Where's the accountability? And that's the key thing. If you've got no accountability, those officers who are doing bad things should be exposed and chucked out. And not only that, the officers in charge of them, the sergeants and inspectors, their job should be on the line, because that mentality of the lower ranks is only allowed to happen because the manager allows that. Instead of stamping, so like, whoa, you ain't doing that under my command, under my watch. That ain't happening.
No, they're too.
We forget that they have that power, you know.
Yeah.
It's like management, isn't it? You're managing a start. You just that wasn't that.
Well, look how often. Right, let's just say, I know it's a bit off, but a football team. How many football managers get sacked because the team isn't getting the results?
Yes. Exactly. So if you've got like, great analogy, if you've got like a football player, he's on the field, he's going around kicking 7 bells out of play, you're going to throw him like, off.
Yeah, off.
Right.
Yeah.
You're going to get yourself sent off, and you're going to damage the team.
Yeah.
So, you want someone who's going to play the game properly and make sure you win.
So what? So what are we saying? Are we encouraging people to start to join the Met, or we got to find another way? Do we start policing our own communities, or we have to start increasing our mindsets more in terms of knowing what the police is about already and just trying to change? Because I changed my whole mentality. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I have a problem where I still get it today. I'm trying to get around it. I don't know what it is, but I don't know when I come out of Sainsbury's or Tesco's or anything like that, and I walk through the little metal thingies.
Oh, for it to go off.
I feel like it's gonna go off. Like if I'm driving my car, knowing that I've got insurance, I've got my seatbelt on, or whatever kind of thing, I still feel agitated. Like if police are behind me or beside me. It's a weird. I don't know what it is. It's like
you anticipate something they might.
Yeah, I start stealing. Why we should feel like that? You know, it's the authority. We should be thinking, but there's this big. Yeah, there's this little thing that looms. I know that's other people, but that's what I get. But I'm thinking, let me just change my mindset. Since I've changed my mindset, I haven't been stopped by the police for a long time. But then I don't engage with police anyway. Like, it's weird because they're not on the beat. You don't really see them until something happens, which is what you're talking about. But then we're seeing what's going on
You
with
did the other day. You went on a little small march.
Yeah, that was alright. But actually, that was good. But the man that came there, he was actually a nice guy. The way he engaged us, he could have been hostile. Could have got left easily. Because like, what are you coming there for? But he's just like, they got the camera in his face, like, what do you think? And he held it. He conducted himself extremely well. And he said, I'm just going to escort you lot down to where you are going. I'm not looking to get involved. Like, I'll answer any questions.
Yes.
Boom, 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 boom. And he actually, you're right. That there was actually, they sent the right person in. But there's still that trust. They still got this little damn trust in. It was. What do we do? What do we do? Police our own communities. Start put more faith in the police. Change our mindset. Are you going to join back the beat? What? Are you going to take over and start another police force that we can do? Should we? We got that Forever Family. Like, we can use them. They could be police our communities at the moment. I don't know.
I think you have to sort of, you want to pressurise the Home Secretary, and this is almost fanciful thinking with the Tory government because they're just so hostile when it comes to the black people in the community. I think you have to pressurise for a change at the real top and say, how can we change the Met Police as an institution? I personally think it's too big. I say it with people before. It's 30-odd thousand police officers under one command. It's way too big. One commissioner. It needs to be broken up. It should be like north and south of the river.
Okay.
Broken up so it's more manageable, more accountable. Then you can have direct comparison about how is the north policing versus how is the south policing. Even if it's brought into four like north, south, east and west, you can then turn around and see how each area is being compared to when you just have one mammoth thing there, it's hard to bring about true accountability. And accountability is a key word in there. If you have lack of accountability, no one is going to lose their jobs over this, then nothing is going to change. When you have accountability and you say, right, people are either going to go to jail or they're going to be kicked out, then things will change. That's the only thing, because that's the same thing what's happening in America when it comes to policing. A lot of those officers who are ill-treat black people when they're being stopped don't get fired. They get quiet, turn around.
They're gone, they disappear and they get another job and then quiet down. Collateral damage on that.
So you need to have proper accountability, and that's key for it in there. So
if they don't have that pressure to make those changes,
I mean, we ain't strong enough in that sense.
well, it's not that we're not strong enough, but we're not.
Do you believe we should police our own community? What do you think of that?
I think we used to. And that's the thing about it. They used to, as a community, police our own community. So if you had young people who were misbehaving, you knew who their parents were. You turn around and say, listen, I'll speak to your mum, you know. I'll speak to your dad, and turn around. And you as a young person didn't want that news to bring back shame to your family or to turn around. So we used to police our own community. We used to understand. But somewhere along the line, and I blame us as the older generation, has allowed that to slip. But we now have errant young people who seem to have given up. Not all of them, I must say, because there's a perception that it's every one of them. It's not. But we have a percentage there who are in the headlines, who are quite violent in their act, who have now totally disengaged in terms of being positive within the black community or doing something that's positive and engaging. So you have an element in there, and it is a small element, because I say to officers when most of these schools, which are predominantly black people in there, you don't go and arrest all of them, do you?
No.
It's a small minority. So all will happen to all the others. They'll just go home quietly. So bear that in mind. The vast majority of them are law-abiding, straight people, young people who go home and behave themselves. You get engaged with the 1 or 2%, and you come with the mentality that it's all of them. You understand?
No,
So
of
you
course.
have to kind of put things into perspective and not generalise.
Generalise, and that is
Yes.
it ultimately, not generalising.
It's
No,
general.
we're in a we're saying it's spiritual warfare at the moment. It's a dark place. There's a lot of things going on. Just the news today. I didn't really even want to talk about the news today, but in Thailand and the things that are going on is just unreal. The imbalance of life. No boxing matches, but man, then it talks about the amount of different types of news that filters through, but don't get filtered through, and it's weird that the prison set everything's a bit topsy turvy, and
The world's upside down.
it's
right now.
mad. And to
The
be a
world
police,
is seriously-
to go and to probably work in the police, probably very with lack of resources.
Do you think it's easier now or harder now?
I think it must be harder.
I think it's
much
harder
now.
now in terms of black person. If someone said to me as a black person, should I join a police service? I would say
Yes, that's the question, isn't it? Yeah, go on.
I would say to them, that's your decision to make. However, go in there without the preconceived idea that this somehow is a holier than holy institution. It's not. There is institutional racism, there is corruption in there, and you've got to realise that, do you want to be part of a change, or are you just going to go in there to get paid?
Yeah.
So if you're going to go in there and try and be part of a change, realise you're going to come across obstacles and
Lots of
things in your
obstacles,
way.
yeah.
So you have to be
Are you
prepared for
built
that.
like that for it?
Do you think that I can see you're differently built, like we were talking about the other day, how we're just built for certain things. Like, do you feel you're built for that, or did you add tools, go in your toolbox and say, I need this now, I need to read up on this, I need a mentor, or did you cry in your bed at night sometimes? I don't know. What did you? How did you get me?
I like to think.
You can say you cried. If you cried, you
No,
can say
no,
you cried.
no.
It's not a big thing, man.
No. I think there's a Jamaican instinct in me that says, I ain't giving up.
Okay.
Go on.
If you want to fight, we're going to fight.
Yeah.
I ain't giving up. I ain't afraid of you, turn around. That kind of rebellious thing, right? So I was in there, and I could tell you about another incident, but I could have turned around and quit. Something happened to my oldest son.
Yes, please.
So when that happened, it involved certain TSG officers at a time in Hyde Park.
What's TSG again?
Territorial support group.
Okay. What are they? What do they do?
They are like, this is another thing. There's so many things.
No, it's not terrorists. It's not terrorists. It's
No,
something
they're
else.
territorial support. So they're the ones who go around in the vans when the riots kick off and big time trouble kick off.
Okay.
They come out. They are dedicated units who train for crowd control events or for
See, not
Well,
terrorists.
like carnival.
carnival.
Or
but
riots.
Yeah,
Riots.
right. So football matches.
Okay.
Only when
Same
things
thing.
are popping off, though.
Yes, when there's large
Okay.
scale disorder,
Okay.
then you come in there, or there's, for instance, on a state, there's issues around particular gangs fighting or whatever. It's large scale in a big trend. Now, I personally don't agree with that policing, because you then have a whole unit of van in there pumped up because they train hard. They do train hard. In there looking for trouble.
Yeah. When's the next?
Come
So
on.
if you're going in there, pumped up in there, you're in a van, you're trained up over to man, and you with it's 10 other officers in there looking for trouble, and you all jump out. You're all pumped up already because you're trained for this. You're trained for confrontation, and you go out. That aura is going to be picked up by others. You could try and say, "Oh, turn around." Now, to me, I'd rather see those officers in the boroughs actually just doing their policing role rather than going around in a van looking for trouble. And then they pull over someone, all of them jump out, and the perception is like, well, why are you all pumped up? What's going on? I know, turn around.
Ready for a fight.
So is that what happened with your son? Is that what they did?
Right, so TSG officers were called to an incident at Hyde Park.
Okay. 420 thing, smoking thing.
No. There's a large scale. Young people at the time at Hyde Park got together on social media.
Or
Come on
a
social
fight or
media.
something.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so my son, being his young man, took upon himself to go up there with his dog, which he had. Yeah, and the dog was a very passive. It looks kind of big dog, but it was as playful as a puppy, right? He had a look, but he was playful. And he went out, took it by himself because his friends would go out there. Yeah, it's got a Hyde Park, I had a big ting going by. So he went up to it, Hyde Park. As soon as he arrived up there, Hyde Park, but he just arrived up there. TSG officers told him, move. He turned around and said, I ain't moving. Why should I move? I got it. I ain't done anything wrong. They told him, no, you have to move. So they made him know. They basically told him, blah, 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 you have to effing move. Turn around there. He said, I don't have to do effing nothing. Perfectly right.
On the
Common,
job now.
yeah. So he was right when he was right to turn around. They took it upon themselves now because they're dealing with some other incident and they're all pumped up.
Yeah.
Right, here's one now. And they jumped on him. And they mashed him down to the floor, took him down, man. And there's a lot of things that happened. It's difficult for me even to recap it because when I even think about it, sometimes I get
certainly.
upset.
It's
and
real life.
because this is when I'm a police officer. So what the things that they did, they took him to a van, they chucked him on the floor of the van, they walked on top of him while he was on the floor of the van. They took him when he's in there, when he came to Paddington Police Station, he was at Paddington Police Station. They would tease him saying, we're going to destroy your dog, and turn around, things like that. There's a lot of things happening in turn around. Now my son had never been arrested before.
Yeah.
And when I heard what was going on, I said, what?
Yeah.
So I went up to Paddington Police Station, and I went and saw him in the cell, and then he was there. And he broke down, because he'd never had him before, he'd never been in trouble before. And he was like, he was apologetic, sorry dad, turn around. I was like, and he got me, like, what, this is not what I understand him to be, and that's not what turn around. And then when I heard about the things that was going on, what happened to him, and the way they treated him, and how they manhandled him, and punched him in the face and things like that, I think, well, hang on, this doesn't, let me just see. So let me just, because I'm thinking like, he's saying one thing. So I went and interviewed.
And you're stuck because you're part of the Met Police as well.
No, I'm just in my mind curious. It's like, my son is saying one thing, the police have done something else. Let me just do some research and to find out what's happening there, because it don't add up.
Yeah.
My son hasn't done anything, and police who I'm working with have beaten my son up. So I went and spoke to an independent witness who was working at the park, who worked at the park. He had to turn around, he oversaw the whole thing.
Okay.
I said, did you see, without telling him,
Who you were?
I said, just said that I was a police officer, listen, let's get what happened. I said, didn't tell it to my son. I said, did you see what happened with the young man dog? He said, yeah. He said, I saw. And he said, like, you saw? He said, yeah. He said, like, the police were out of order. He didn't do anything. So that backed up everything that my son said. That he was just angry. He said, no, they jumped in. He said, like, he couldn't understand why they did it. And they manhandled him, punched him in the face. They said everything that my son said. This independent person who didn't know I was there talking about my son backed him up. White guy, their business owner doing his thing, backed him up. So I knew then my son, what he's saying was telling the truth.
But you still question it to a certain extent, to the degree.
No, from then I didn't question it.
No, but at the
time I was like,
confused.
let me find out.
Okay, yeah.
Saying that, let me find out. My son is saying something. I believe my son, but the police are obviously actions are saying something else. Let me find out what's the truth of the matter.
Well, for the witness.
So the witness backed up everything that was turned around and said. So I was like, okay. I went to my then chief inspector or superintendent with my work card, throw it on the table. She ain't changed shit. You haven't changed. And
You threw your work card on the thing.
I said, you haven't changed. I'm prepared to quit this thing because you haven't changed. Because I know from my son's experience, and I was obviously emotionally connected, and I was like, I heard through, what had happened to my son, seeing the bruises on his face. And I said, no, you haven't changed. And he was kind of nonchalant about it. They're kind of like, okay, that's the way you feel about it.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, in that moment of clarity in my mind, turn around and said, you know what, fuck you, in my mind. I talked about the bag. I said, you know what, let me think about it. And I said back from there, I'm going to expose every single thing I see, I'm going to talk about and turn around. And I made sure then I was considered, you know what, I'm going to be the bane in your life in this organisation.
So you pick back up the warrant card.
Yeah. And that
That's
made
massive,
me
you know. That's massive.
turn around and said, you know, I'm going to expose everything I see. I'm going to show and, tool out everything. I ain't going to be no silent witness. I ain't going to be turned around. And that was what I vowed to do from that day forward, always.
Wow,
So when people turn around and say to me, I got beaten up by police officers for no reason, I no longer turn around and say, nah, it can't be possible for a reason.
There has to be.
I say, no, that's possible.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Yeah.
That's possible.
What happened to your son? Did they get? Did they get?
So they were
get
gonna
arrested. Did they go to jail?
No, he got arrested. He got fined. I said to him to plead.
He got fined.
Yeah, I said to him not to plead not guilty. But here's the thing. I understand that because he was a young person. Obviously got found guilty. I said, don't plead guilty. He said that he didn't want to go through the rigmarole turnaround, so they plead guilty. It's like someone who's been tortured and willing to sign something just to make it go away.
Yeah.
You have to see mentally, psychologically, they've been through trauma. They want this thing to go away. So they sign everything. You know what? Yeah, let me just
And take the fine as well on top of that.
Yeah. Instead of fighting back.
And you're saying it's still, even just talking about it, still gives you that cringe.
Because of my son.
Yeah, that's the.
Basically, like the amount of different emotions you're feeling, like you want to punch someone, you want to do the whole shebang. So what happened with the dog?
So the dog now, they tried to apply for him to be put down. The courts said no, we can do. They gave him conditions that the dog's going to stay, but he's going to be in a muzzle if he's in public, and he's going to be under control, etc. So there was a reprieve for the dog, so he didn't get put down.
Okay.
As much as they wanted to. They tried to say he was a banned dog, but saying he wasn't a banned dog. There's certain breeds that are banned. He wasn't a banned dog. And the dog hadn't bitten anyone.
Like,
And he tried to, tried to say he goaded the dog to attack them. And there's so many lies that was in there. And
did you cross paths? Did you ever cross paths with these officers? Or you wouldn't know the officer at the time, innit? Because they would have done the duty.
I didn't know them personally, no.
No, you wouldn't know.
But
badge numbers you'd know though.
Yeah, but the witness.
Imagine if they're dead. Put the badge number in.
The witness turned around and said, no, the dog didn't do nothing. He was as passive and as calm as if he didn't even bark.
Wow. So even with the witness being there,
which they never interviewed, I found.
You couldn't get the witness on board to.
No. So here's the thing now. The witness there, because he was licensed by Hyde Park, he didn't want, because Hyde Park is managed by, they have their own police force.
Yeah.
Hyde Park Police, Royal Park Police.
Yeah.
He didn't want to affect his business and come against the police and potentially say, like, I got my business. Look, I wish I could understand. It's his livelihood.
Yeah.
It's his business. So he said no, he didn't want to put name to paper.
Yeah.
So what I did ask him, could you willing to come forward? He said, no, I've got my business to run. So.
Yeah. It's like, sometimes you get them, not just white people, sometimes it's the older generation too. And when an instance has happened, especially with like a young black guy, whether they've been injured, arrested, on some occasions killed, and well, they must have done something. Like, police aren't just going to, and the reality is, sometimes the police.
And this is where we're at now with the Chris Cobb. Well, we're not going to go on too much because it's still on the thing, but with the Chris Cobb, we're still. Yeah. They've tried to find everything, like he ran the car, he did this. Now they've literally said he did nothing. He didn't even get chased. It wasn't even a chase now.
It wasn't a chase. But you have to, I would say to as of today's day, you need to look at the interim report that's just been released by the IPCC. I did put it on the LBFF group. You have a read at that, and the perception that they're pursuing in there. The question is then still, when you discharge a firearm, a police officer, it's to kill the person, not to injure the person.
Okay.
Right? They do it to save life and limb of themselves or others. So what kind of deadly threat
Yeah.
was he from them?
Yeah.
What could they have avoided? Even if, let's say, for instance, like, I'm not there, I don't know. Cameras reveal what's going to happen, and maybe those officers were justified in one way or another. We don't know. But the question is that if their officer, if he was driving a car towards them, could they have just jumped out of the way rather than do a shot too? Why is it that only one officer fired and not the others? Why didn't the others see the threat in there? Do you understand? So I know each officer has to justify their own action, but then you'd have to question, well, why didn't you fire? Did you not see a threat? Why is it your colleagues saw a threat, but you didn't?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of questions.
There are a lot of questions
that
and
need
not
to be
enough
answered.
answers.
Yeah.
Because every time we get an answer, it doesn't add up.
Nothing does. No, thank you. No, it's too much of an insight today, and they want to end on that note kind of thing. You get me?
Yeah.
I want to give you your flowers and say thank you for your services and that. Many people probably say, "Wow, why don't you go back in there somewhere for more fashion?" But he's still behind the scenes doing work, so he's still there and that. What's the goal though? What's the goal? What is your goal now? Is it literally you just say what they say nothing into the
Literally.
in the thingy, or is it a thing where one day you might come back in a different form or?
No. My goal now is to leave this country.
Is it and go where?
Jamaica.
Say no more. They say that. Didn't they say big news the other day? They were saying that is the mass shooting. Is it become like? Is it a norm? Is it a norm now in Jamaica? Like mass shootings. They're talking about mass. Is it not mass? I can't remember the actual.
Group shooting.
They're saying it's. I can't remember what it is now. That's a
Shirley?
bad. Yeah, she's gone.
Yeah,
man.
she's fine.
What's the thing about Jamaica? I can't remember. But it's not.
Jamaica's. A lot of people have
Jamaica's
this.
got its own issues.
Jamaica has its own issues. Is it crime free? No. Is America crime free? No. People still run to America.
Yeah.
People are still clamoring. They're trying to get there any way they can, illegally or not. They're trying to get. The way I see it, a bit controversial. I know it's true. I think Windrush generation made a big mistake.
Okay.
Coming over, or I think coming over, but they didn't send. But I didn't think. I think the mindset was wrong. They shouldn't have stayed. They should have got the keys.
But they had the mindset of not staying. But they obviously they came here on a lot of bag of lies that there was one of them and Chang. But they should have gone. We kind of like Windrush generation outstayed their welcome, so to speak, to the point where Chang said, "No, we're not welcome here. We don't like it here." The police had told us not to like it here. The way they treated us in terms of discrimination, housing, etc.
Yeah, we forced it.
We don't want you here.
It's like we forced it.
So we should have seen.
You know what?
Let's go. Let's come back.
But it's not forced. Like you thought that you were welcome.
No, we're welcome, but we forced the. We said, look, despite
we stayed beyond our
we
welcome.
stayed.
Yeah.
Despite the housing situation, which so they don't know right sometimes, but we stayed.
Yeah.
The working environment, we stayed. Really and truly, we said we're not getting that back where we are at home.
No.
We don't get discriminated. We were calm there.
No, it's
weird how they kept the psyche. They got into our psyche. And then just
Thought that it was a better life.
yeah, it's a better life. And then we stopped sending money back, and now we're criticizing them for not having nothing when we're meant to be sending money back. It's a weird.
So I view that the entrepreneurial skills that came over, that learned all the trends and did all the building and rebuilding of this country, would have been better off doing the same in Jamaica.
Yeah.
And maybe Jamaica would be a different place than it is now. So I think more of us need to go back and try and rebuild it. It's not going to be easy.
So what about Africa, fam? Everybody's going back Africa now, Tanzania and all that.
There's a lot of ex-Americans, ex-Jamaicans in Ghana. Big place.
Gambia.
Gambia, a lot of places. So Africa, it's an option. But I think this idea where you're judged by the colour of your skin can only go away when you go and live amongst your own. Because I defy there's not one white country in this world where black people are not judged by the colour of their skin in discrimination one way or another. Not one.
But when they go along,
if you go along, my ex-mentor, she was in Jamaica. She lived out there, grew up there. worked out there. When she came over, her first experience in her 30s, 30s, of racism was in this country. All this time when she was in Jamaica, living in Jamaica, she never experienced racism.
Really? No.
When never called someone, she heard everyone call you black bastard. She was like, what? What?
Yeah.
Mix the black with the. How you do that?
Yeah. The most you'd get is maybe colorism, in the sense of if you're fair skin or you're dark skin.
But you're still black.
But you're still,
You're still black.
But so even with such multi-diverse relationships, because back in the day I knew several mixed race friends that their white mothers were even racist to them. You know what I mean? Like, this and the other, because obviously they can't get past it. Even if they lay down
Why
with
for
a
that?
black
Why
person,
for that? That's mad.
they're
Why
still.
And and the strangest thing, because in Jamaica, you have a lot of white Jamaicans who speak proper Yardie language. Turn around, and people don't bat an eyelid. It's just
welcomed.
You have a lot of Chinese there that speak proper Yardie. Turn around.
I'm not really one for the Chinese, just taking
Leave them
over.
alone. Leave them alone.
Like taking over the highways and the byways.
They've been there for decades.
Yeah.
From the beginning. So, it's only when you come here that turn around they distinguish you and you're treated and you're unjust, and that's never going to go away. Never going to go away.
Unfortunately.
This is mad, you know.
Yeah, because I think we found out the other day that we're still only, what is it?
5%.
5%. But I was like, that's crazy.
And we ram up the jails though. Huh?
Yeah. All that kind of thing.
Gosh, but
Episode 11 has been insightful. Thank you. You want to big up anybody? I don't know, because usually they big up. I don't know if you want to big up anybody. You got anybody in jail that you want to big up? I don't know. People that you might put in jail.
What, free my man?
I don't know. It's free now, innit? So you might just say, free PC something.
I will thank you guys for giving me an opportunity to express my thoughts.
Man.
Bring back some memories and articulate. So if it's out there, people can understand it. They can judge it as they want. It is my perception, my thoughts around
your experience.
Exactly, my experience of what happened. So I thank you for opportunity.
Blessings.
Some people may take this and learn from it. Some people may.
Man, like, comment, subscribe, and share it. Share it.
There are plenty of gems there.
And there's plenty to work with. And
very open and honest and just real.
Thank you. Episode 11 done, people.